Hare Krishna, everybody. Thanks for joining for today's Bhagavatam class. Let's go through the prayers first, and then we can look into the today's verse. Okay. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Salakaya Chakshu Militam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Tadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sriyutapadakamalam Sri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lalita Sri Visakhanvitamscha हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधु जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कांता राधा कांता नमोस्तुते तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे. Welcome everyone for the today's Bhagavatam class. We're going to read the verse from 3rd canto, 26th chapter, 52nd verse. Share my screen. Okay, let's go through the verse first. एतत् अण्डं विशेषाख्यं क्रमवृद्धैर्दशोत्तरै तोयाद्भिः परिवृतं प्रधानेनावृतैर्बहिः यत्र लोकवितानोऽयं रूपं भगवतो हरे. One more time. एतत् अण्डं विशेषाख्यं क्रमवृद्धैर्दशोत्तरै तोयाब्धिः परिवृतं प्रधानेनावृतैर्बहिः यत्र लोकवितानोऽयं रूपं भगवतो हरे. Let's go through the synonyms. Etat, this, andam, egg, visheshakhyam, called vishesha, krama, one after another, vruddhai, increased, dasa, 10 times, uttarai, greater, toyabdihi, by water and so on, parivritam, enveloped, pradhanena, by pradhana, avritai, covered, bahi, on the outside, yatra, where, lokavitana, the extension of the planetary systems, ayam, this, rupam, form, bhagavata, of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Hare, of Lord Hari. Translation: this universal egg, or the universe in the shape of an egg, is called the manifestation of material energy. Its layers of water, air, fire, sky, ego, and Mahatattva increase in thickness one after another. Each layer is 10 times bigger than the previous one, and the final outside layer is covered by Pradhana. Within this egg is a universal form of Lord Hari, of whose body the 14 planetary systems are parts. Let's go through the purport by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. This universe, or the universal sky, which we can visualize with its innumerable planets, is shaped just like an egg. As an egg is covered by a shell, the universe is also covered by various layers. The first layer is water. The next is fire, then air, then sky, and the ultimate holding crust is Pradhana. Within this egg-like universe is the universal form of the Lord as the Virat Purusha. All the different planetary situations are parts of his body. This is already explained in the beginning of Srimad Bhagavatam, second canto. The planetary systems are considered to form different bodily parts of that universal form of the Lord. Persons who cannot directly engage in the worship of the transcendental form of the Lord are advised to think of and worship this universal form. The lowest planetary system, Patala, is considered to be the soul of the Supreme Lord. And the earth is considered to be the belly of the Lord. Brahmaloka, or the highest planetary system, where Brahma lives, is considered to be the head of the Lord. This Virat Purusha is considered an incarnation of the Lord. The original form of the Lord is Krishna, as confirmed in Brahma Samhita, Adi Purusha. The Virat Purusha is also a Purusha, but he is not Adi Purusha. The Adi Purusha is Krishna, Ishvara, Parama Krishna, Satchidananda Vigraha, Anadirade Govinda, Sarvakarana Karana. In Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is also accepted as the Adi Purusha, the original. Krishna says, "No one is greater than me." There are innumerable expansions of the Lord, and all of them are Purushas, or enjoyers. But neither the Virat Purusha nor the Purushavataras, which are Karanodakashai Vishnu, Garbhodakashai Vishnu, and Kshirodakashai Vishnu, nor any of the many other expansions is the original. In each universe, there are Garbhodakashai Vishnu, the Virat Purusha, and Kshirodakashai Vishnu. The active manifestation of the Virat Purusha is described here. Persons who are in the lower grade of understanding regarding the Supreme Personality of Godhead may think of the universal form of the Lord, for that is advised in the Bhagavatam. The dimensions of the universe are estimated here. The outer covering is made of layers of water, air, fire, sky, ego, and Mahatattva. Each layer is 10 times greater than the one previous. The space within the hollow of the universe cannot be measured by any human scientist or anyone else. And beyond the hollow, there are 7 coverings, each one 10 times greater than the one preceding it. The layer of water is 10 times greater than the diameter of the universe. The layer of fire is 10 times greater than that of the water. Similarly, the layer of air is 10 times greater than that of fire. These dimensions are all inconceivable to the tiny brain of a human being. It is also stated that this description is of only one egg-like universe. There are innumerable universes besides this one, and some of them are many, many times greater. It is considered, in fact, that this universe is the smallest. Therefore, the predominating superintendent or Brahma has only 4 heads for management. In other universes, which are far greater than this one, Brahma has more heads. In Chaitanya Charitamrita, it is stated that all these Brahmas were called one day by Lord Krishna on the inquiry of the small Brahma, who, after seeing all the larger Brahmas, was thunderstruck. That is the inconceivable potency of the Lord. No one can measure the length and breadth of God by speculation or by false identification with God. These attempts are symptoms of lunacy. That's quite a purport. Okay, let's read the verse one more time and then we'll have some discussion. एतदण्डं विशेषाख्यं क्रमवृद्धे दशोत्तरै तोयाब्धि परिवृतं प्रधानेनावृतैर्भैः यत्र लोकवितानोऽयं रूपं भगवतो हरे. ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय. ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय. ॐ नमो भगवते Vasudevaya. So let's first of all, this words sounded it had a lot of complex details, which were like kind of when I was looking at them, I was like, oh wow. I mean, it has too many intrinsic details that probably would be very very difficult to comprehend and very difficult to understand and get it into our small brains, as Prabhupada was mentioning in the purport. But again, I was also happy to look at this verse because lot of when I have interactions, especially with young people, the first thing, the impression that I get is they feel like the scriptures are mythical. They don't have evidence for the contemporary living that we have. So these kind of verses kind of give an insight of the vastness that the subject matter expertise that the scriptures can provide. Not only, I mean, of course, scriptures talk about bhakti and philosophy that we need to follow in our life and those things, but it also provides the actual knowledge, like, because a lot of people say, science at some point defy the spiritual beliefs. But these kind of verses actually revert that, because it here in this verse, even though it is a kind of complex description, but it is giving a lot of knowledge, a lot of description about the universe and about this earth, and how the earth is made of. So it's up to us to decode it and understand, because the fundamental principle of the modern science, it assumes that the law of physics that can be uniformly applied throughout time and space. But this kind of verse actually provides a more elaborate structural model. So if somebody studies this model that is explained in Bhagavatam, they will have probably a much more better understanding and a much more a higher level of knowledge about the cosmos. Because right now, I mean, if you see science, you see they first they first started discovering things on Earth, and then slowly they thought, okay, there might be some other planet which has life, or there might be some other universe. But so slowly they found, okay, they sent some rover to Mars. So now they are figuring out slowly one thing after the other. But Bhagavatam already gave all these details. Like in the at the end of the verse purport, Prabhupada was mentioning, when uh, in our universe seems to be the smallest. There are much more bigger universes out there, and our Brahma has only 4 heads, but those bigger universes have Brahmas which have more than 4 heads. So point is, Bhagavatam already gives all those details. It's the and it's only our lack of studying that because of which people understanding and familiarity, because of which people can say that scriptures don't provide enough scientific knowledge, but rather it's more mythical. So um, so when I was looking at this verse, there were so many details that is given, in the description about the expansion of the material universe. So the verse describes the two features of the universe. So there is one inside region in which there are 14 planetary systems. These are said to, constitute the universal form of the Lord, and they are compared with the universal body. So, and then there were 14 planetary systems which made the parts of the universal form of the Lord. And then there are coverings of the universe, and this verse describes those coverings. So basically the coverings of the universe represent different manifestations of these material elements. So the coverings of the universe are related to the description of the material elements. So it is, curiously enough, these coverings of the universe, I said it starts with water. So in the verse, if you see Toya Abdihi, so it starts with water, and so on it goes. Then we have like covered with air, fire, and all those things. So whereas in other places in Bhagavatam, we see that the coverings begin with earth. There is some difference there, but in any case, the basic principle is when you go out from the universe, going outwards, the successive coverings are of some more subtle elements. So here in the verse, it explains that the elements begin with the Krishna's material energy, which is called pradhana. So from pradhana, a transformation takes place and mahatattva is produced. So for mahatattva, by further transformation, then there is a production of false ego, which is actually kind of a substance, the false ego or ahankara, because it puts the living entity into the illusion of being in the material body. But from this false ego, there are further transformations. So so we keep continuing that, from that we have fire, from that we have water, and then finally earth. So going outwards, the elements constituting the shells of the universe are these elements in reverse, like earth, water, fire, air, and ether, and then false ego, and then mahatattva. So, so when we see, I mean, when we say that, it would sound, that, mahatattva, when mahatattva is produced, it is produced in the form of small globules. So, after looking at all this, there's and then, I felt like what we are interested in we are interested in the bhakti part. I mean, I'm sure this verse explains a lot, a lot about the scientific nature of the cosmos, but ultimately what we are interested is in the bhakti part, the devotional part. So what we are aiming for is Goloka. So when and then how, but here it is mentioned we are in the material energy, which is pradhana. So what happens when we are in the material? How come when we are part of the? I was wondering, when we are part of the Krishna, who's the spirit soul, it's a spiritual. How come we are so influenced by the material energy and we are stuck here? So I found a very interesting point that material energy is nothing but a reflection. So a reflection of the spiritual. So it is very strong. That is why it is very strong, and because of which we are getting stuck in this material energy. So now the one who controls all these things is Krishna. So that is why we are asked, but nobody else. So that is why we are asked to take the shelter of Krishna, because the spiritual energy is so because of the material energy is so strong, which is a reflection of spiritual energy. The only one who can pull us out of that is Krishna. And also, there is a mention that this is all very difficult to understand. And when we go into the purport, Krishna says um, um, that I am the no one is greater than me. And Prabhupada also mentions that he quotes Brahma Samhita, says Iswara Parama Krishna Sachidananda Vigraha Nadaradir. So unless we depend on Ishvara and the original Nadi Purusha, it is very hard to get out of this material energy. So, and also, Prabhupada mentions here in this purport, we with our limited understanding, we cannot measure the length and breadth of the God by speculation or by false identification. So because this subject matter is kind of beyond our understanding. But one thing is very clear, that there is a supreme energy and supreme Lord, depending upon whom we can get out of this world. So there is one more mention on for the beauty of flexibility that Shastra provides for us in actually developing our faith. Like not It is not easy to focus on the transcendental form of the Lord. We are trying really hard. Like we're chanting, we're reading Srimad Bhagavatam, every day in the morning. But it is it is not easy to focus ourselves on the transcendental form of the Lord, and and understand. So the flexibility that Shastra gave, Bhagavatam gave here, is if anybody cannot focus for some reason on the transcendental form of the Lord, the alternative is to focus on the universal form of the Lord, where you can see the different worlds and different kinds of creations coming in and going, and the different parts, the 14 planetary systems being different parts of the body of the Lord, universal form of the Lord. So seeing which, it's when you look at that picture, you'll be like amused. How come all these things how are manifested, and how in the universal form of the Lord, which the Virat Purusha. So because of that inquisite and curiousness and looking at an amusement is naturally attracted to look at that form, and he suggested by Bhagavatam that maybe when we cannot focus on the transcendental form of the Lord, that is an alternative form that we can focus on and develop our faith. So, um, and here it is, I also mentioned, like, how the universe is formed, like what are the different parts of the Lord. The description is given by Srila Prabhupada, like the soul, or the feet are Patala, the belly is earth, and the head is Brahmaloka. So all these things, when we add all these details and think about Virat Purusha, we can actually see God lying down the causal ocean, and within the causal ocean, an innumerable universes are emanating from the pores of the body of Mahavishnu. That's what we see, right? So, and which are like compared to little bubbles of foam. So all these things, when we imagine, it's like incomprehensible for us. How can that be? And how can that how is that whole manifestation there? Um, so I felt like, instead of wondering how all this is, it's already done. A higher power, who is Krishna, he's already done all those things for us, and he's asking us to focus on him and come back to the spiritual world, which is always, happy and in being in the devotional service. Um, I felt like in Prabhupada is indicating us to already in this verse very nicely that all these details are there. It's not that those details are not there. Why these details are given, to develop a much better understanding, to understand the capacity, or understand the greatness and vastness of the Lord. And even though it is incomprehensible, but it is given to us so that we can understand His greatness and develop more faith and bhakti and do more devotional service. So those are some of the thoughts that I had. If anybody has any comments or corrections, please go ahead.
Hare Krishna Mataji, thank you so much. So I was just thinking when you're reading the purport to how do we understand this, right? These different layers and all. So I think the next sentence Prabhupada said, the material tiny brain cannot
Yeah,
understand it. So it was
I
it
mean,
was like
yeah,
yeah.
it was hard to wrap around my head.
And then so but here the earth itself is like a right, it's like a floating, right? We see oceans and right, different places, right? The water is not falling on the other side. Generally we don't
Yeah,
see, right? I mean, if we put a water somewhere on the space, I mean, like in the atmosphere here now, right, it will fall down, anything, any object, but the earth is holding with that gravity, right, including the water. So in the different layers, because the whole universe itself is like in that kind of big sphere, right? I mean, the oval model, then the different layers can obviously hold the same way the earth is holding the I mean, with its gravity, whatever we call it, the water and everything else, right? Even though it is rotating and floating and all. So,
yeah. So I mean, I was listening to another lecture where how in one of Radha Maharaj's lecture about the last paragraph, where all the Brahmas came to one place, and
hmm,
their the heads were colliding, kind of sometimes colliding
colliding
with
each
each
other.
other.
Yeah.
Yeah, because there are so many Brahmas, the innumerable Brahmas, because our Brahma wanted to see how many Brahmas are there. So I'm like, how do you conceive that? Like, how many universes are there and innumerable Brahmas existing? So it's it's totally beyond. I mean, for me, it was totally beyond my comprehension capacity. So yeah, but so I thought, it's good that the details are there, but it's better leave it and then focus on where we want to go to, which is the Goloka. So forget about other lokas.
Yes.
Okay. Anybody else? nothing. Thank you so much for joining today. Have a blissful and Krishna conscious day.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Panchakalpatra Pasindu Vishnu Namo Namo Koti Vaishnava